Hey guys, Karix here with another review. This time I'll be reviewing the BCR12 Kamen Build RabbitTank Hazard Form plus RabbitRabbit Armor and TankTank Armor set from Kamen Build. This is the 12th entry in the Ball Change Rider series that can not only interchange with other figures in the line, but can also equip one of two armors to become new forms. This set includes several things: 1 figure, 10 armor parts, and 3 accessories. So, let's get started. Here we have Kamen Build RabbitTank Hazard Form, so let's take a look at the figure. Now this is a little bit of an awkward situation because I have technically looked at this form before because I looked at the soft vinyl figure when I reviewed the Hazard Trigger, but at the time I actually did not know that I was going to be getting a BCR release. So I do kind of have to look at it again because it did eventually end up getting one. It's just that it got a BCR figure after Riders and forms that debuted after it did. So, like we've seen in the past, this is an all-black form with the exception of a few parts. Those being the eyes on its heads, which are identical to the ones of RabbitTank form. But we can see that it has this new crest that's shaped like a V with a silver V in the center. It also has these kind of struts that come out from the sides of the cheeks, as well as these horns in the back. And these come down to a pair of kind of inverted fangs that come up here on the inside. You have the chest plate, which has these 2 new pieces, as well as spikes along the shoulders. One interesting thing to note is that while all forms of build have this sort of collar in the back, for this figure it's actually a little bit more lengthened and flattened, and that'll come into play later. The rest of the body is basically just the bare bones build, having lines that flow in a down-left direction all throughout the body without much detail. The one interesting thing to note is that there is something that seems like a bit of a oversight in terms of the production. Because if we look at the joint here for the left arm, you can see that the lines all match up and still flow in the same direction. But if we look at the one for the right arm, you can see that they basically mirrored the left shoulder, so it doesn't really match up with the rest of the arm. You also have the belt, which has the painted balls for Rabbit and Tank, as well as a now molded-in Hazard Trigger that's painted in all red. And we still have all of the paint around the sides for the belt. So articulation-wise, being a BCR figure, this of course has no head movement. You can still rotate the arms 360 degrees and go in and out all the way. Have a single joint elbow, bicep swivel, bulge, a full wrist rotation, and 2 finger joints. And for legs, they go forward and not very much back. In and out, have a thigh swivel, single joint knee, and ball joint ankles. And with this being part of the BCR line, we're getting actually back to the interchangeable figures, so you can press this button on the back to split it apart into 2 halves, and then put them back together. Next up, we'll equip the figure with the Rabbit&Rabbit armor. So to start, we're going to take the figure and remove the initial build driver and replace it with one that has the full RabbitTank bottle attached. Just like that. Then we're going to attach the armor to the limbs, starting off with the arm armor. Now for these are labeled to let you know which side they go to, with a little L for the left arm and an R for the right arm. And these just peg into holes on the arms. Like that. And we've got the same thing going on with the leg armor, where also marked with an R and an L. And in this case, we're going to slide these slits into grooves on the lower legs that you can see there. Just like that. And finally, for the chest armor, as you can see on the back, we have these two holes here. And this is where we're going to have the chest armor peg in, via these pegs here on the inside. So, the first thing we're going to do here is unclip the armor like this and open up on this hinge. Then swing it over the head and torso, so that the front of the armor rests on the chest. Then, with the arms out of the way, going to snap it into the back. Make sure that these pieces attach on the sides. Then for the final step, we're going to come around to the back where we see the face mask, and we're going to lift it on to the back of the head with this hinge. Then slide down the mask onto the face. And here we have Kamen Rider build Rabbit&Rabbit form. So let's take a look. Starting off with the head, we now see that instead of a rabbit and tank eye, this now has two rabbit eyes. Each of them also has this gold trim around it, though this is actually mostly for the sake of the toy, since that's what helps it cover up both the original rabbit and tank eyes underneath. But it also has this crest going down the center that is just this big red stripe, and the forehead gem, or the kind of forehead light, now is changed to a gold color. Then going down to the chest, we can see that has this new color that comes around to the front. And that's why we have the color like this, so that it doesn't really get in the way of the new parts of the collar. We can see on the chest he has a gold build symbol that extends off to the sides. Then on the shoulders, we got these springs built in that you can also see on the arms and legs, though only the ones on the shoulders are painted. And as for the other armor pieces, you can see that they are quite aerodynamic and very much have a sharp look to them. And finally on the back, we have these two cape pieces that look like rabbit ears. And so for the articulation now, again, no head movement. As for the arm movement, because of the armor it is a little bit restricted. You can still move it out this much. As you can see, because of the way it's designed, it does move out of the way a bit when you move the arms because of the little spikes on the inside. But you'll need to actually move it a little bit forward to go out to the full point, which is here where it bumps up against the actual chest piece. And as you can see, the shoulder pieces do move all the way up here, so they allow you to get some forward motion, since they aren't hinged to go forward. Then aside from that, because of the way that the other armor pieces go on, the arms and legs for the rest of it aren't restricted. And then you also have the actual cape pieces, or kind of scarf pieces, which are also on these hinge joints, so you can kind of swing them up and around or have them down in the back, and give the figure a bit more of a dynamic look to him. We can also equip him with an accessory, which would be either the full ball buster in Buster Blade mode or Buster Cannon mode, and in this case we'll use the Buster Blade mode. So if we take a look, you can see that it's very well molded and well detailed. It is hollowed out on the back, which is a good thing, since if it wasn't, this would be pretty heavy for the figure to hold. And you also see that it has 4 generic footballs molded inside. So we can use the fingers on one hand to actually hold it. And then if we can get it inwards, we can try using the other hand to hold the second handle. Something like this, although obviously you could probably do a little bit better, but it is at least somewhat possible to have him hold the actual sword with both hands. Though you want to be kind of careful, because as you can see, when I did that, this piece kind of came off, so a lower grip is actually a little bit better. Something like that. After that, we'll equip the figure with the Tank&Tank armor, and the process is the same as with the Rabbit&Rabbit armor. So I've already equipped him with the other build driver, so we'll just attach the armor. First we have the arm armor, and with these ones, they're actually not labeled for left or right, so you can attach them on either side. And go on to the same peg holes. And for these you want to make sure that they're facing in the downward direction like this. And you have the leg pieces, which again should be facing this direction, and these ones are marked with an R and L. Here's the right leg, and then the left leg. And then finally we get to the chest armor. And so again, going to open up, clip it over the torso, clip it into the back, then bring the mask piece up and around. And here we have Kamen Rider build Tank form. So let's take a look. So, like Rabbit form gave him 2 rabbit eyes, in this case, Tank form, of course, gives him 2 Tank eyes. And again, they have these gold edges to cover up the actual original eyes underneath. And then we have the same thing going on with the face, this time in blue. In this case, we have the chest piece, which again has the build symbol done up in gold. Though, whereas the Rabbit piece give it these 2 indented pieces on the sides, as well as this higher collar that's basically meant to resemble rabbit eaters. Tank form instead gets these tank treads draped across the chest. Then you have the shoulders, which are molded as little tanks. You can see the whales painted in here in black and white. Then you also see little tanks on the arms and legs, and again, similar to the Rabbit armor, the shoulder pieces are painted in, but the arm and leg ones aren't. And on the back we have, again, a couple of scarf pieces, but in this case, they're like laid out tank treads. And overall, this one has a more kind of tough and bulky look compared to the speedy and sleek look of Rabbit form. And the articulation does also match. Bit more limited articulation for the shoulders, but they can still go out thanks to the movement of the shoulder pads. And then no other restrictions done to the rest of the figures, since the other armor pieces just clip on. And the cape pieces here, or scarf pieces, are also on the swivel joints. And this time, for accessories, we can equip them with the full ball buster in Buster Cannon mode. And for this one, has all the same details, but you can see that it does have the handle tilted out like this for the Buster Cannon mode, as well as having the gap, which represents the slot for putting in the full balls. And this one also has 4 full balls molded in. And so for this one, again, he can hold it using either of the hands. And it does give him a pretty good grip. Surprisingly, he can actually hold it pretty well, just with one hand. But if you want to, you could also have him holding it. So that basically he has one hand on the handle, and the other on the second handle. Though this is a little bit tricky because of the way that the figure is just designed. But something like that. And finally, as I explained back when I looked at the base figure, this is done in the original style of BCR, so Rabbit-Tank hazard form can be interchanged with other figures. Though this time, instead of doing it by exchanging with the last interchangeable figure that we looked at, I'm going to do things a little bit differently. As you can see, I have here trial form Kaizoku Shobosha, and we'll be using the 2 halves of this figure to exchange with Rabbit-Tank hazard. So, we'll split them up. Then we'll pair Rabbit Hazard with Shobosha, and Tank Hazard with Kaizoku. And that gives us these 2 trial forms. As you can see, doing this, we now get a form with 2 red eyes, and a form with 2 blue eyes. And it does give it a bit of a very different look, since you've got one half body that's very colorful, where the other is totally black. And similar to with Rabbit-Tank Sparkling, this is something that is exclusive to the toys, since in the show this kind of thing is not possible with Rabbit-Tank Hazard form, since the only other thing he can do with Rabbit-Tank Hazard is to make other hazard forms, like Hawk Gatling Hazard, or say Kaizoku Resha Hazard. So it does give it an interesting angle. That makes it stand out, and is, again, it's always nice to see the figures and toys doing things that are not remotely possible in the show, because it just adds in a little bit more fun to it. And there we go. Overall, this is definitely the best release in the BCR line in terms of overall play value. Not only do you get a 3-in-1 figure, thanks to the set coming with the 2 armors, but you can also take the base figure and interchange it with the other interchangeable figures in the line. That being said, there are also some drawbacks in terms of the way the figure was made and what could have been. My biggest problem with the figure is the paint job, specifically how you have the details on the shoulders painted in for both the armors, but not the similar details on the arm and leg pieces. And I find it weird because of how little paint actually had to go into the base figure, with the only paint being the eyepieces and the belt, and the rest of it being pure black plastic. Additionally, like I said, there is some stuff that could have happened. For example, they could have done a bit extra with the way the armor does, and actually had it so that you could display the armor on its own in some kind of way. As in the show, the Rabbit/Rabbit armor comes to build in the form of a mechanical rabbit, whereas the Tank armor comes to build in the form of a fleet of small tanks. Additionally, there is also some potential for releasing these 2 as 2 separate figures, since in the show, Rabbit/Rabbit form can stretch its limbs thanks to these springs, and Tank form can convert its lower legs into tank treads, though that might have been a little bit tougher to do, just because they would need to add in a bunch of extra parts, and basically make it a little bit trickier to have it be, or have them be show accurate, so this might have been for the best. Additionally, if you have two of the figure, you can display both RabbitRabbit form and TankTank form, though that is going to be a bit costly since this is the most expensive set, thanks to having a figure and the two armors. But if you can afford it, it is definitely cool to be able to display both of the figures at the same time. So, if you're a fan of these forms of any of them, and you're looking for these nice and these nice standard size action figures for them, I can definitely recommend picking up this set. Next time I'll be reviewing the Deluxe 5 Legend Rider Full Ball set and the X8 Full Ball, Saturday at 7 PM PST. So, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and if you're new and would like to see more, please subscribe and hit the bell icon. And for now, this is KRX50, writing off.